Before I take you into tonight's tale, tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from right now? And if you love werewolf shifter romance filled with passion, heartbreak, and fate, make sure you subscribe so you never miss another story. The night was colder than death. Selena stumbled through the forest, her body trembling as the last of her strength drained away. She had been cast out only hours earlier, but it already felt like years since she had heard the mocking laughter of her former pack. Her hands clutched at her swollen belly, the fragile heartbeat inside her the only thing keeping her from collapsing completely. She whispered into the dark, her voice cracked and raw. "Hold on, little one. I won't let them take you from me too." The pack's rejection replayed in her mind with every step. The alpha who had once promised her forever had stood before the pack, his voice cold and merciless as he called her unworthy. A useless omega. A weak mate. A burden. And then he had condemned her to exile, pregnant and alone. Selena's wolf whimpered inside her, weakened but still alive. "Don't stop," it urged. "Keep moving. We survive." But her body had limits. Her legs gave way, and she collapsed against the roots of an ancient tree, breath shallow, tears streaking her dirt-stained face. Her belly clenched painfully, and fear gripped her heart like a claw. Was this it? Was this where her story ended, not with love, not with honor, but with a forgotten body in the shadows of the forest? The wind carried scents of pine and ash, and something else. Power. Raw, terrifying power. The kind of presence that made her wolf shiver in both fear and recognition. Footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. A predator's stride. Selena forced her eyes open, and her vision blurred. A towering figure emerged from the darkness, lit only by the ghostly silver of the moon. His frame was massive, cloaked in a black fur mantle that brushed the ground. His golden eyes glowed like fire, unblinking, sharp enough to pierce straight into her soul. The Alpha King. Everyone had heard the stories. Ronan, ruler of the northern packs, a king carved from war and blood. Ruthless in battle, merciless in judgment, feared even by his own council. Wolves whispered that he could break a warrior with his bare hands, that no one had ever seen him bend, not even for love. Selena's breath caught. She had no strength to run, no voice to beg. She was nothing but a dying omega on foreign soil, a trespasser before a king. Ronan stopped only a few paces away, his shadow engulfing her broken form. His nostrils flared, and in an instant, his eyes darkened. He had scented it. Her fear. Her pain. Her unborn child. For a long moment, he said nothing. His gaze was unreadable, though his wolf prowled beneath the surface, restless. Finally, his voice rolled out, deep and rough, like thunder through the trees. "You should already be dead." Selena swallowed hard, fighting the tremor in her voice. "Then finish it," she whispered. "End it quickly." The king's brow furrowed, and something flashed in his eyes, irritation, curiosity, maybe even something sharper. He crouched down, his massive form folding with surprising grace, until he was close enough that she could feel the heat of his body against the chill of the night. "Most omegas beg," he said coldly, his gaze roaming over her swollen belly. "But not you." Selena's lips trembled, but she forced herself to meet his gaze. "I've begged enough in my life. It never saved me." A silence stretched between them. Her defiance, even at death's door, stirred something in him. His wolf growled low, claws raking inside his chest. "Mate." Ronan's jaw tightened. Impossible. He had no mate. He would not accept one. And yet, her scent clung to him, burrowed into his lungs, igniting a fire he had not felt in years. He reached out suddenly, one large hand gripping her jaw, tilting her face toward the moonlight. She flinched but didn't look away. Her eyes were silver pools of exhaustion and fire, rimmed with tears but unbroken. "You carry a child," he muttered, his voice quieter now, though no less dangerous. "Whose?" Selena's heart stuttered. Shame burned her cheeks. "Not yours. That should be enough." He growled, low and dangerous, though his hand didn't move. "Careful, Omega." Her breath hitched, but she pressed on, whispering the words like a curse and a prayer all at once. "If you're going to kill me, do it now. At least my baby will never know this cruel world." Something inside Ronan snapped. His wolf surged against his control, howling in fury. Kill her? No. Protect her. Claim her. Save her. The Alpha King released her abruptly, his hands shaking as though scorched. He should have walked away. He had no time for weakness, no patience for broken Omegas carrying bastards. But as he looked at her, pale, trembling, cradling her unborn child with a fierceness that defied death itself, he knew he couldn't. With a snarl, he bent, scooping her effortlessly into his arms. She gasped at the sudden heat of his body, the strength in his grip. What are you doing?" she stammered. His eyes blazed gold, wolf and man united in one relentless truth. "Keeping you alive," he growled. "For reasons I don't yet understand. Pray you're worth it." The forest swallowed them as he carried her toward his kingdom. And though Selena's body was frail, her heart beat stronger than it had in weeks. For the first time, she dared to believe she and her child might survive. But she also knew this, survival under the Alpha King's roof would never come without a price. The journey blurred for Selena. One moment she was freezing beneath the trees, convinced her heartbeat was fading for the last time, and the next she was wrapped in a furnace of heat and muscle, carried as if she weighed nothing at all. The Alpha King's arms were strong, unyielding. Every stride he took was steady, relentless. His wolf radiated through him, a living storm contained by sheer will. She could feel it pressing against her own fragile wolf, demanding she submit. But she didn't. Even broken, she clung to the last thread of her defiance. The silence between them was sharp, broken only by the crunch of snow beneath his boots and the howl of the wind across the mountain. Finally, she found her voice, weak but steady. "Why?" she whispered, forcing the word through cracked lips. Golden eyes flicked down to her. "Why what? Why didn't you leave me there?" Her throat ached, every word a struggle. "I'm no one to you." For a long moment, he said nothing. Then his jaw clenched, and his reply came out like a growl. "Because my wolf wouldn't allow it." The words hung heavy between them. Selena's breath caught, her heart pounding faster despite her exhaustion. She knew what it meant when a wolf claimed something instinctively. But no. That couldn't be possible. Not with him. The world blurred again, and when she blinked back to focus, the fortress loomed ahead. It rose from the mountain like it had been carved from the rock itself, its towers crowned with fire-lit beacons. The walls were tall, jagged, intimidating, like their king. Warriors patrolled the battlements, their cloaks snapping in the wind, their eyes sharp as they spotted their alpha's return. Gasps and whispers carried down the stone steps as Ronan strode past the gates with Selena in his arms. The guards bowed their heads instantly, but their eyes betrayed their confusion. An Omega? Dying, pregnant, and foreign? Their Alpha King didn't suffer weakness. He crushed it. Selena felt the weight of their stares. Her skin burned under their judgment, and shame twisted in her chest. She wanted to disappear, to vanish into the shadows, but Ronan's grip never loosened. He carried her as though their eyes meant nothing. Inside, the fortress was warmer, the air thick with smoke and pine resin. Fire roared in the great hall's hearth, casting golden light over carved stone pillars. The scent of wolves, steel, and leather filled her lungs, making her feel even more out of place. Ronan's beta, a tall man with dark hair and piercing green eyes, stepped forward. He paused mid-bow, his gaze snapping to the frail figure in the alpha's arms. "My king," he said carefully, "what is this?" Ronan's glare silenced him. "She is under my protection. Prepare chambers." The beta hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, before bowing his head lower. "Yes, my king." Selena stirred weakly, her voice hoarse. "You shouldn't." His eyes cut to hers, sharp enough to slice through her protest. "Don't speak." And she didn't. Not because she obeyed him, but because her strength had finally given out. Darkness pulled her under, even as his arms carried her up the winding staircases to a chamber high above the fortress. When Selena woke again, she was surrounded by warmth. A fire burned low in the hearth, blankets heavy over her frail body. The scent of herbs and broth lingered in the air, and for the first time in weeks, she wasn't shivering. Her hand flew instinctively to her belly. The baby kicked, weak but alive. Relief washed over her like a tide, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You're safe." The voice was deep, rough. Her gaze darted to the corner of the room, where Ronan leaned against the stone wall, arms crossed over his broad chest. His golden eyes glowed in the dim light, unreadable but unwavering. Selena swallowed, her voice shaking. "Why are you here?" He didn't move. "Because I need to see if you survive." Her lips trembled. "And if I don't?" His jaw tightened. "Then I'll bury you myself." Silence pressed heavy in the room. He wasn't cruel, not exactly, but there was no gentleness in him either. His words carried weight, finality, as though his decisions could not be undone. Selena turned her face toward the fire, shame prickling in her chest. She should thank him. She should feel relief. But all she felt was fear. And something else. Something she couldn't name. Later, a healer came, bowing low before Ronan before tending to Selena. Her belly was examined, her pulse checked, herbs pressed to her lips until she drank. Through it all, Ronan remained, his gaze fixed on her like a hawk. When the healer finally left, Selena dared to meet his eyes again. "You should let me go," she whispered. "Keeping me here will only bring you trouble." His lips curved, not into a smile, but something darker. "You think I fear trouble, little Omega?" Her chest tightened. "You don't understand. My old pack." "I don't care about your old pack," he cut in, his voice a low growl. "You crossed into my lands. Now you're mine to deal with." Her breath caught at his words. Mine. He hadn't meant it like a mate's claim, she told herself. He hadn't. But her wolf trembled anyway, torn between fear and desperate hope. That night, when the fortress had grown quiet and the firelight flickered low, Selena lay awake staring at the ceiling beams above her. Her body was weak, but her mind was sharper than it had been in weeks. She couldn't stay here. Not with him. Not with the Alpha King whose power burned like the sun. And yet, when she thought of leaving, her wolf whimpered inside her chest. Because no matter how much she denied it, no matter how much she wanted to hate him, somehow, against all logic, her soul whispered the one word that terrified her most. Mate. The fortress never slept. Selena learned this quickly. Even in the deepest hours of night, she could hear boots echoing down the stone corridors, hear wolves shifting in the courtyards below, hear the restless growls of warriors guarding their Alpha King's borders. And always, always, she felt the weight of eyes. The fortress wasn't just walls and fire. It was judgment. Whispers followed her wherever she went, though most didn't dare speak too loudly while their king was near. An Omega? Here. She's weak. Pregnant. A burden. What could the king possibly want with her? Selena kept her chin low, her belly cradled in her hands as if she could shield her child from the venom in their voices. Every step through those halls reminded her she didn't belong. But Ronan had made no move to send her away. He had ordered chambers for her. He had commanded the healers to attend her. He had made it clear, in that voice that could shatter stone, that she was not to be touched. Still, Selena knew better than to trust the mercy of kings. Her chance came 3 nights later. She woke to a noise at her chamber door, a soft scrape of metal against stone. Her wolf stirred uneasily inside her. She sat up slowly, her fingers curling around the edge of the blanket. The door creaked open. A figure slipped inside, cloaked in black, the scent of wolf musk and steel following him. His eyes gleamed in the firelight, cruel and sharp. "Get up," he hissed. Quietly. Selena froze, her pulse hammering. "Who are you?" The man sneered. "The one doing what the king won't. Weak omegas don't belong here. You'll be gone before sunrise." Fear gripped her, but so did anger. They had cast her out once before. They had tried to erase her, to make her nothing. She wouldn't let them take her child again. Her lips trembled, but her voice was steady. "I won't go with you." The intruder's smile was vicious. "You don't have a choice." He lunged for her. Selena tried to scramble back, her body too weak, her belly slowing her down. His hand clamped on her wrist, fingers digging into her fragile skin. Pain shot up her arm. And then, a growl ripped through the chamber, low and primal, vibrating through the very stone. The intruder froze. His head snapped toward the doorway just as Ronan stepped inside, golden eyes blazing with fury. Selena's breath caught. She had never seen him like this, not restrained, not cold. His wolf burned so close to the surface that his skin rippled with it, claws half-formed, teeth bared. "Touch her again," Ronan snarled, "and I'll rip your spine out through your throat." The warrior dropped Selena's wrist instantly, stumbling back. "My king, I only meant." "You meant to disobey me," Ronan cut in, his voice sharp as a blade. The man fell to his knees, trembling. "She's dangerous. She'll bring ruin to us." The pack whispers, "My king." Ronan's hand shot out, gripping the man's throat with terrifying ease. He lifted him off the ground as though he weighed nothing, golden eyes glowing like molten fire. "The pack whispers because they forget who rules them," he growled. "Let this remind them." With one brutal motion, he hurled the intruder against the stone wall. The man crumpled to the floor, coughing, gasping for air. "Get out," Ronan spat. "If I see your face near her again, you'll beg me to kill you quickly." The warrior scrambled out of the chamber, half crawling, half running. The silence that followed was deafening. Selena sat frozen, her chest heaving, her wrist throbbing where the intruder had grabbed her. Ronan turned toward her, his wolf still burning in his gaze. For a moment, she feared he might unleash that same fury on her. But instead, his expression softened, barely, but enough. "Did he hurt you?" His voice was still rough, but quieter now. Selena shook her head slowly, though her wrist ached beneath her trembling fingers. Ronan crossed the room in 2 strides, crouching beside her. His hand reached for hers, pausing just above her skin as if waiting for permission. Her heart pounded. She should pull away. She should tell him she didn't need his help. But exhaustion betrayed her, and she let him take her wrist. His thumb brushed over the red mark left by the intruder's grip. A growl rumbled in his chest, softer this time, more like a vow than a threat. "No one touches you," he said. "Not in my fortress. Not while I breathe." Selena's throat tightened. She wanted to argue, to remind him she wasn't his to protect, that she had survived worse than this. But when she looked up and met his eyes, molten, fierce, unshakable, the words died on her tongue. Something in her wolf stirred, not with fear this time, but with recognition. Mate. She tore her gaze away, her cheeks burning. She couldn't think like that. Not about him. Not about the Alpha King. Ronan released her wrist slowly, though his hand lingered for just a moment longer, as if reluctant to let go. He stood, his towering form casting her in shadow. Rest, he commanded. You're safe now. And then he left, the heavy door closing behind him. Selena sat in silence, her body trembling. She pressed her hands over her belly, whispering to her unborn child. You're safe, she repeated softly, though her voice cracked. For now. But deep inside, she knew safety under the Alpha King's roof would never come without cost. And as much as she tried to deny it, her wolf knew the truth. She wasn't just surviving here. She was being claimed. The fortress had rules, unspoken ones that every wolf obeyed. Omegas bowed their heads when warriors passed. Servants kept silent in the presence of their betters. No one questioned the Alpha King. Selena broke every rule without meaning to. Her steps were slower than the others, her chin never dropped low enough, her belly too obvious to ignore. And worst of all, she looked people in the eye. It wasn't defiance exactly, it was survival. But to wolves who had been raised on hierarchy and fear, it looked like rebellion. And rebellion, in a fortress like this, was dangerous. 2 days after the attack in her chambers, Selena walked the inner courtyard for the first time. The healer had insisted she needed movement for her strength. Guards trailed her from a distance, watching every step. Whispers floated through the cold air. There she is. The king's stray. How long before he grows tired of protecting her? Selena kept walking, her hand on her belly, her eyes forward. But each word cut like a blade. She reached the well at the center of the courtyard and bent to draw water. The bucket was heavy, her body weaker than she cared to admit. She gritted her teeth, forcing her arms to lift, refusing to look helpless. Let me. The voice was deep, commanding. Selena stiffened. Ronan stood at her side, one massive hand reaching for the rope. His golden eyes glimmered in the sunlight, sharper than ever. I can do it, she said quickly. He arched a brow. Can you? The weight of the bucket pulled at her arms, her muscles trembling. She hated the way her body betrayed her, hated the smirk that curved his lips as he took the rope from her and lifted the water with effortless strength. Her wolf bristled. I didn't ask for your help. He set the bucket down in front of her, water sloshing over the rim. You didn't have to. The guards stiffened, eyes flicking nervously between their king and the defiant Omega. No one spoke to him like that. No one dared. Selena met his gaze, refusing to look away. I'm not your prisoner. I won't kneel for scraps. If you brought me here to break me, you'll be waiting a long time. For a heartbeat, silence blanketed the courtyard. The guards held their breath, waiting for his fury to fall on her like thunder. But Ronan didn't roar. He didn't strike. Instead, his lips curved into something dangerous, something closer to amusement than anger. There it is, he murmured. Selena frowned. What? The fire, he said simply, his gaze raking over her. You wear fragility like armor, but beneath it, you burn. Her chest tightened, her throat dry. She opened her mouth to retort, but no words came. His voice, low and rough, seemed to curl around her wolf, pulling her closer whether she wanted it or not. She turned away sharply, dipping a cup into the bucket just to have something to do with her hands. Don't mistake survival for fire. They're not the same. Behind her, his growl was soft, almost approving. They are in you. That evening, the fortress buzzed with tension. Ronan had summoned his inner circle, his beta, his captains, his advisors. Selena wasn't meant to be anywhere near them, but her chambers shared a wall with the council hall. Every word carried through the stone. "She weakens you," one captain spat. "The pack whispers already. They think the king has gone soft, hiding an Omega under his roof. She's carrying another male's child," another growled. "If you claim her, they'll never accept it." Silence. Then Ronan's voice, steady as steel. "I didn't ask for their acceptance. She stays." Selena's breath caught. "She stays," he repeated, his growl reverberating through the walls. "And if anyone thinks to challenge me on it, they can meet me under the moon. We'll see who bleeds first." Her hands shook where they clutched her blanket. He was defending her. Fiercely. Publicly. And yet, doubt gnawed at her chest. Was it duty? Pride? Or something deeper, something more dangerous? Later that night, Selena found herself restless. She drifted to the window of her chamber, staring out at the moonlit courtyard. Below, Ronan trained with his warriors, bare-chested, muscles slick with sweat, every strike of his blade sharp and merciless. He moved like a predator born to conquer. Her wolf pressed against her chest, whimpering in longing. She pressed her palm to the cold stone windowsill, her voice breaking in a whisper. "No. He's not yours. He can't be." But even as she said it, her wolf answered back with a single word. "Mate." The next morning, Selena was summoned to the great hall. The long table was lined with warriors, their eyes burning with distrust. Ronan sat at the head, his golden gaze fixed on her as she entered. "You've been here long enough to know the rules," he said. His voice filled the hall, low and commanding. "An Omega's place is submission. And yet, you defy me at every turn." Selena's heart pounded, but she lifted her chin. "Because submission is death. And I won't die for you. Not for anyone." Gasps rippled down the table. The warriors leaned forward, waiting for Ronan's wrath. But instead of fury, a slow, dark smile spread across his face. "Good," he murmured. "I don't want a weak Luna." The hall erupted in whispers. Selena froze, her heart slamming against her ribs. "Luna?" Before she could speak, Ronan rose to his full height, towering over everyone in the hall. His eyes locked on hers, glowing like molten gold. "You think fire makes you dangerous, Selena," he said, his voice echoing against the stone. "But fire and fragility? That makes you unstoppable. And that is why you're still alive." Her breath caught. For the first time, she saw something in him that terrified her more than his strength. Desire. And worse, her wolf howled in answer. The fortress had its rhythms. Warriors drilling at dawn. Advisors whispering in corners. Torches lit at sundown. Every day ran like clockwork, steady, predictable. But Ronan had begun to unravel that rhythm. Not outwardly. He still trained, still commanded, still ruled with the same iron precision as always. But when Selena walked through the courtyards, his eyes followed her. When she spoke, his wolf stilled to listen. And when she defied him, his growl wasn't just anger, it was hunger. The pack noticed. Wolves who had once whispered about her weakness now whispered about the king's distraction. His power had not dimmed, but it had shifted. And all of it, to their shock and fury, centered around the fragile, pregnant Omega. Selena felt it too. Every time Ronan's gaze touched her, her wolf trembled. Not with fear, but with recognition. She tried to bury it, to ignore it, to convince herself it was nothing. Yet her body betrayed her, her heart racing whenever he drew near. It wasn't supposed to be this way. She had lost everything, her pack, her home, the father of her child. She wasn't meant to crave anyone's touch, least of all the Alpha Kings. And yet, she did. It came to a breaking point one evening. Selena had wandered too far from her chambers, drawn by the cool night air. She stood in the gardens, moonlight silvering her hair, when she heard footsteps behind her. "You shouldn't be out here alone," Ronan said. She turned, her heart tightening. "Why? Afraid I'll run?" His eyes glimmered gold in the dark. "Afraid someone else will try to take you from me." The words lodged in her chest. "From me." He had said it like a claim, like a promise. She swallowed hard. "You don't own me." A low growl rumbled in his throat, his wolf pushing close to the surface. He stepped nearer, his presence swallowing the night. "Don't I?" Her breath caught as he closed the distance, until there was only inches between them. The heat of him, the scent of pine and smoke clinging to his skin, made her wolf press desperately against her chest. She forced herself to look up, meeting his gaze head-on. "You may be Alpha King, but you don't get to decide what I feel." Ronan's lips curved in a dark, hungry smile. "You think feelings matter? This bond doesn't care what either of us wants." He lifted his hand, brushing the back of his knuckles lightly against her cheek. Sparks flared where his skin touched hers, racing down her spine. She flinched, but not from pain, from the terrifying sweetness of it. Her wolf whimpered. "Mate." "No," she whispered, backing away quickly. "I won't let this happen." His growl deepened, his eyes flashing brighter. "You don't get to stop it. Fate doesn't ask permission." The tension between them grew unbearable after that. Every shared glance burned. Every brush of his hand against hers sent fire through her veins. She avoided him when she could, but the fortress was his domain. There was no place she could go where his presence didn't loom. And Ronan. Ronan stopped trying to hide his hunger. When she walked into the hall, his eyes followed her like a predator stalking prey. When others dared whisper about her, he silenced them with a single growl. And when she defied him, when she dared speak back, his wolf surged with satisfaction. It terrified her. Because part of her wanted to give in. One night, storms lashed against the fortress walls. Selena lay awake, clutching her belly, the thunder rattling her bones. She rose to fetch water, only to find Ronan already standing at her door, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You're awake," he said simply. "I couldn't sleep." He studied her for a moment, his jaw tight, as though fighting something inside himself. Then, finally, he spoke, his voice low, almost broken. "My wolf, he doesn't stop." Selena blinked. "What do you mean?" His hands curled into fists at his sides. "Every time you're near, he claws at me. Demanding. Growling. He wants to claim you." His gaze locked on hers, fierce and unrelenting. "And I don't know how much longer I can fight him." Her throat tightened. Fear and something darker tangled in her chest. "Then fight harder," she whispered. "Because if you claim me, it will destroy me." His expression shifted, pain flickering behind his golden eyes. For the first time, she saw not just the king, not just the predator, but the man. And it shook her. Ronan stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the heat rolling off him. His voice was a whisper of thunder. "Or it will save you." Her wolf howled, torn between fear and longing. Her knees weakened, her heart racing. She wanted to scream at him to leave, to let her go. But when she opened her mouth, the only word that escaped was a trembling whisper. "Ronan." His name on her lips broke him. His hand rose again, brushing against her cheek, his thumb grazing the corner of her mouth. Sparks flared, stronger than ever, setting her whole body alight. But instead of kissing her, instead of giving in to the fire that threatened to consume them both, he pulled back sharply. His chest heaved, his fists clenched. "Not tonight," he growled, half to her, half to himself. "If I take you now, there will be no turning back." And with that, he turned and vanished into the storm, leaving Selina trembling, breathless, and more confused than ever. That night, as thunder roared and lightning split the sky, Selina pressed her hands over her belly, whispering to the life inside her. "What if he's right?" she asked softly. "What if he doesn't destroy us? What if he saves us?" Her wolf answered with a single word that echoed louder than the storm. "Mate." The fortress had grown quieter around her. The sneers, the whispers, even the glares, they hadn't vanished, but they softened. Selina told herself it was because the pack was too busy with their drills and duties to bother with her. But she knew the truth. It was because of him. Ronan's presence, his possessive gaze, the subtle growls he gave whenever anyone so much as looked at her, it changed everything. The pack still doubted her, but they no longer dared to show it. And yet, the silence only made her more uneasy. One morning, the scent of smoke drifted through her chamber. She jolted awake, heart pounding. It wasn't fire, not exactly. It was pine smoke, mixed with something darker, something metallic. Blood. Her wolf stirred uneasily. Selina slipped to the window. Beyond the high walls of the fortress, the forest stretched endless and wild. But tonight, shadows moved where none should be. Torches flickered between the trees. She drew in a sharp breath. Wolves. Not Ronans. Down in the war hall, voices rose in anger. Selina strained her ears against the cold stone walls, her pulse hammering. "They're testing us," one warrior snarled. "Scouts from the Black Fang pack. They crossed the river. They've heard rumors. About her." The last word was spat like venom, and Selina flinched. "She should never have been brought here," another growled. "She's a liability. If they learn she carries." Silence snapped through the room, broken only by Ronan's growl, low and dangerous. "Finish that sentence," he rumbled, "and I'll finish you." The room went still. Selina's breath caught. He was protecting her again. But protection came at a cost. That evening, Ronan came to her chambers. His face was hard, his shoulders tense, the weight of leadership pressing against him like armor. "You need to be careful," he said, his voice rough. "Your old pack, they know you're alive." Her stomach twisted. "How?" "They have spies everywhere," he muttered. "They've heard whispers of a pregnant Omega under my protection. They want to end it before it begins." Selina pressed a hand to her belly, her heart aching. "They want to kill my child." Ronan's eyes burned gold, fierce and unyielding. "They won't touch you. Not while I breathe." Something inside her softened, even as fear clawed at her chest. "You can't protect me forever. You're a king. You have a pack. A war to fight." His jaw clenched. He stepped closer, his presence swallowing the room. "And I'll fight it for you." The way he said it, not for the crown, not for duty, but for her, made her breath tremble. Her wolf surged, pressing hard against her ribs, whispering what she still refused to accept. "Mate." That night, sleep would not come. Selina tossed and turned, haunted by memories of the pack that had cast her out. She saw their sneers, their cold eyes, the way they had spat at her as she was driven into the snow. And worst of all, she remembered the alpha who had rejected her. Cain. His name alone made her chest tighten. He had promised her everything once, a bond, a place by his side. But when her wolf had whispered mate, he had laughed. Laughed, and thrown her away like she was nothing. And now, Cain wanted her dead. Tears stung her eyes, but she bit them back. She had sworn she would never cry for him again. Never. Still, the fear lingered. If Cain came, if his warriors broke through the walls, would even Ronan's strength be enough? At dawn, the fortress bells rang. Selena rushed to the window, heart slamming. Wolves stood at the gates, snarling, snapping, their eyes burning red in the light. Rogues. And at their center, Cain. Her blood turned to ice. He was taller than she remembered, broader, his face harder, crueler. His voice carried over the walls, sharp as a blade. Ronan, he roared. You shelter what is mine. Give me the girl, and I'll spare your pack. Selena staggered back from the window, her hand pressed over her mouth. His. He dared to call her his after everything. The gates creaked open. Ronan stepped out, his massive frame a wall of power and fury. The two alphas faced each other, the air between them charged like lightning. She was never yours, Ronan growled, his voice thunder. You threw her away. And now she is under my protection. Cain sneered. An Omega whore carrying another's bastard? That's what you risk your kingdom for? The fortress shook with Ronan's roar. His claws slid free, his wolf surging beneath his skin. One more word, and I'll tear your tongue from your skull. The rogues bristled, ready for blood. But Cain only smirked, his eyes cold as stone. This isn't over, Ronan. When the moon is full, I'll return. And I'll take what's mine. With that, he turned, his wolves slinking back into the forest shadows. The gates slammed shut. The fortress buzzed with fear. Selena collapsed against the wall, trembling, her heart in her throat. The past had found her. And this time, it wanted blood. That night, Ronan came to her again. His hands were rough from training, his jaw shadowed with exhaustion, but his eyes burned brighter than ever. You're safe, he said, his voice low, steady, fierce. Do you hear me? No matter what he says, no matter what he does, you're safe here. Tears spilled down her cheeks, unbidden. Why, she whispered. Why risk everything for me? For a moment, his mask cracked. His hand lifted, cupping her cheek, his thumb brushing away her tears. Because fate doesn't make mistakes, he said softly. And because you are mine, Selena. Whether you accept it or not. Her wolf howled in answer. And for the first time, she didn't silence it. The fortress never truly slept after Cain's threat. Every torch burned brighter, every warrior kept his blade closer, and every howl in the distance sent wolves rushing to the walls. Selena felt it too, the unease that coiled in the air like smoke before a fire. She spent her nights restless, pacing, her hands never straying far from the curve of her stomach. The child stirred more often now, as though sensing her fear. And through it all, Ronan was a shadow at her side. He never said it aloud, but she felt it. His wolf was on edge. His golden eyes glowed more often, his growls came quicker, and when anyone came near her, his presence sharpened like a blade. He was waiting for the strike. And it came. It was on the third night after Cain's appearance. Selena had been dozing, curled on her furs, when the fortress bell shattered the quiet. A long, booming clang, the sound of war. She bolted upright. The door to her chamber slammed open. Ronan stormed in, his chest bare, his claws already sliding free. Stay behind me, he growled, grabbing her arm. His grip was firm but not cruel, anchoring her trembling body. What's happening? She gasped. They've breached the walls. His jaw clenched. Cain came sooner than expected. Her heart plummeted. Before she could speak, the sound of claws scraping stone echoed down the hall. A rogue burst through the shadows, its red eyes wild, teeth glinting. Selena screamed, but Ronan moved faster than breath. His claws tore across the rogue's chest, splitting it open in a spray of blood. The body crumpled at their feet, lifeless. He didn't flinch. He only tightened his grip on her. Go! The corridors filled with chaos. Warriors clashed steel against claw, roars and howls shaking the air. Selena stumbled after Ronan, her breath ragged, her wolf clawing at her chest in panic. A shadow leapt from the stairwell. Another rogue. Selena shoved herself back against the wall, her pulse slamming in terror. Ronan lunged, but this one was fast. Too fast. It slashed across her arm. Selena cried out as blood spilled hot down her skin. She staggered, clutching the wound, her knees buckling. The scent of her blood filled the hall, sharp and sweet. Ronan froze. His wolf surged forward violently, his eyes blazing molten gold, his teeth lengthening. The growl that tore from his chest rattled the stones themselves. No, he snarled, his voice half human, half beast. No one touches what's mine. He ripped the rogue apart with a savagery that made Selena's breath falter. But when it was done, when the body hit the ground, his gaze swung back to her. And she knew, instantly, that she was in danger, not from the rogues. From him. Her blood called to him. His wolf wanted it. Needed it. Selena stumbled back, her arm burning, her chest heaving. Ronan. But he was already moving toward her, his claws curling, his jaw tight with restraint that trembled on the edge of breaking. I can't, he growled, his voice raw. The bond, your blood, it's driving me mad. Her back hit the wall. She clutched her stomach, fear and longing warring inside her. Don't. If you mark me now. His face twisted, agony and hunger locked together. If I don't, you'll bleed out. She froze. The cut burned, hot and deep. Her vision blurred at the edges. Selena, he rasped, stepping closer, his hand bracing the wall beside her head. There's only one way to stop it. My mark will heal you. Tears stung her eyes. She wanted to deny him, wanted to cling to the last scraps of her defiance. But her wolf howled in answer, desperate, pleading. Mate. Her knees gave. She whispered, broken and trembling, do it. Ronan seized her instantly. His arms locked around her waist, pulling her close, his mouth grazing the curve of her neck. His breath came ragged, his growl vibrating through her skin. This will change everything, he warned, his voice shaking. Selena closed her eyes. Then change it. With a snarl, his teeth sank into her neck. The pain was sharp, searing, but it was drowned in fire. Sparks exploded through her veins, her wolf screaming in wild, ecstatic relief. Her blood roared, her body arching against him as the bond snapped into place. She gasped his name, clutching at his shoulders as heat and power surged through her. His mark burned like molten gold, stitching the wound closed, sealing her to him. Ronan growled low against her skin, his wolf triumphant. Mine. When he pulled back, his lips stained red, his eyes glowed like fire. Selena's chest heaved, her hand trembling against the fresh mark on her neck. The cut on her arm was gone. The bleeding had stopped. She was healed. But she was no longer free. Ronan cupped her face, his forehead pressing to hers, his breath rough. It's done, he whispered. You're mine now. Body, soul, forever. Tears streamed down her cheeks, though she couldn't tell if they were from fear or relief. You've ruined me. His smile was dark, tender, devastating. No, little Omega. I've saved you. Outside, the battle raged on. But inside, something deeper had been won. The Alpha King had marked his mate. And nothing, not Cain, not war, not fate itself, could ever unmake it. The fortress had never known silence like this. After the chaos of the attack, the air was too still, the kind of quiet that carried the weight of an oncoming storm. Selena traced trembling fingers over the fresh mark on her neck, the bite still warm, throbbing with a fire that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Every time she touched it, her wolf shivered, whispering the truth she couldn't outrun. She was his. And yet, even as her body hummed with the bond, dread coiled in her chest. Because this was only the beginning. The full moon rose high, painting the land in silver. And with it came the sound they all feared. Howls. Not the steady, loyal chorus of Ronan's warriors. These were wild, bloodthirsty, broken by rage. Cain had returned. Selena gripped the balcony rail, her breath catching as torches lit the forest's edge. Hundreds of wolves surged forward, their eyes gleaming, their teeth bared. At their head was Cain himself, tall, broad, his sneer cutting through the night like a blade. The gates shuddered under the force of his army. Selena's stomach dropped. "There are too many," she whispered. Behind her, Ronan stepped forward, his presence towering, unshakable. His golden eyes burned, his wolf pressed so close to the surface it made the air vibrate. "Let them come," he growled. "Tonight, the moon bears witness. Tonight, the world learns who my Luna is." He took her hand, pressing her palm flat against his chest where his heart thundered. "Stay with me, Selena. No matter what happens." Her throat tightened. "I'm afraid." His lips brushed her temple, fierce and tender all at once. "Then let my wolf carry your fear. You carry only your strength." The gates crashed open. Wolves poured in. Ronan was gone in an instant, shifting mid-leap, his beast tearing into the first rogue with a roar that shook the earth. His warriors followed, steel flashing, claws raking. Selena stood frozen at the balcony, her pulse wild. Her wolf screamed inside her, not with fear, but with a fierce, primal pride. Her mate was the Alpha King. He was unstoppable. But then she saw him. Cain. He cut through the chaos like a shadow, his eyes locked on her. And for a heartbeat, she was back in that moment, the rejection, the cold laughter, the feeling of being nothing. Her knees buckled. But the mark on her neck burned, hot and sharp, reminding her. Not his. Never his. Ronan's. She straightened, gripping the rail, her voice trembling but defiant. "You'll never touch me again." The battle raged. Ronan fought like fury itself, his wolf massive, his claws slick with blood. But Cain was strong too, his strikes brutal, his wolf a monster of shadow and teeth. The two alphas clashed in the center of the courtyard, the ground cracking beneath their weight. Every blow echoed, every snarl tore through the air. Selena's breath came ragged. She wanted to look away, but she couldn't. The sight of them, her past and her future, colliding under the moon was too much to bear. "Ronan," she cried when Cain's claws slashed across his chest, blood spilling bright against the silver night. Ronan staggered, but only for a moment. His gaze flicked up to her, golden fire meeting her silver eyes. And in that single look, she felt it, his vow. He would not fall. Not while she watched. Not while she bore his mark. With a roar, he lunged, his jaws locking on Cain's shoulder. Bone crunched, Cain howled, and the courtyard shook with the force of Ronan's fury. But Cain wasn't finished. With a desperate snarl, he broke free, his wolf shifting back into a man, blood dripping down his torn skin. "You think she's yours?" he spat, his voice ragged, wild. "She was mine first. Her child is mine." Selena's chest squeezed, the words a knife. "Liar," she shouted, her voice cracking through the chaos. You rejected me. You left me to die. This child has only one father, and it's not you. The bond on her neck burned brighter, pulsing in answer. Ronan shifted back, his body battered but unbroken. He strode to Selena's side, towering, his hand gripping hers before all who watched. She is mine, he roared, his voice carrying like thunder. My mate. My Luna. And her child will rule beside me when I'm gone. The pack froze. Even the rogues hesitated. The declaration was final, absolute, sealed under the full moon. Cain lunged again, but this time, Ronan was ready. Their claws met, their wolves snarled, and with one final surge of power, Ronan drove Cain to the ground. His teeth sank deep into his throat, ending it in a spray of blood. Silence followed. The rogues faltered. Without their alpha, their will broke. Some fled. Others dropped their weapons, their snarls dissolving into whimpers. Ronan rose, his chest heaving, his golden eyes burning through the night. He threw his head back and howled, a sound so fierce it rattled the bones of every wolf in earshot. And one by one, his pack answered. Selena trembled, her tears spilling freely as Ronan came to her, his body still streaked with blood, his presence raw and wild. You're safe, he whispered, cupping her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. It's over. Her heart surged. For the first time, she believed him. Truly believed. The bond pulsed between them, strong, unbreakable. Her wolf howled inside her, not in fear, in triumph. She was no longer the broken Omega left to die. She was Luna. And under the full moon, every soul who watched knew it. The courtyard still reeked of blood and smoke when the healers carried Selena inside. The battle had ended, Cain was gone, and the fortress stood strong, but Selena's body trembled, her breath sharp and uneven. Her hand clutched Ronan's as though it were her lifeline. His palm was warm, rough from battle, but steady. The fire in his golden eyes had dimmed, replaced by something she had never seen in him before. Fear. Not of the enemy. Not of death. But of losing her. Stay with me, he whispered, his thumb brushing her damp hair from her face. You survived too much to leave me now. Her lips curved weakly. Bossy, even now. He huffed a broken laugh, lowering his forehead to hers. Always. Hours blurred. Her pain deepened, sharp waves tearing through her as the child fought its way into the world. The healers worked in hushed tones, their hands quick but gentle. Ronan never left her side. He knelt beside her, gripping her hand, letting her nails dig into his skin with every cry. His wolf paced beneath his skin, restless, desperate to shield her from pain he couldn't fight. Look at me, he urged as her body trembled. Don't look at them. Don't think of the pain. Just me. Her silver eyes met his, shining with tears. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the blood on the floor, not the shadows of war. Only them. At dawn, the child's cry broke through the silence. High, fragile, and alive. Selena sobbed, her body shaking with relief. The healer laid the tiny bundle in her arms, and for the first time, the world felt whole. A girl. Small, warm, her skin soft as moonlight. She blinked up at Selena with eyes the same molten gold as her father's. Ronan's breath caught. He froze, as though afraid to touch, afraid to break the fragile miracle before him. Take her, Selena whispered, her voice trembling but sure. Slowly, carefully, Ronan reached out. His massive hands dwarfed the child, yet when he cradled her against his chest, his entire body softened. His wolf stilled. His golden eyes burned, not with fury, but with awe. My daughter, he whispered, his voice breaking. Selena smiled through her tears. Our daughter. The pack gathered quietly in the great hall, whispers rippling as the Alpha King stepped forward with his mate at his side, their child in his arms. Ronan's voice carried steady, though thick with emotion. This is Selene, my Luna, and our heir. The bloodline of your Alpha runs in her veins. The future of our pack rests with her. The hall erupted, not in fear, not in defiance, but in howls of loyalty. The sound rose like a storm, echoing against stone walls, carrying into the night. Selena clutched Ronan's hand, her heart swelling. For the first time, she felt not like an outcast, not like the rejected Omega left to die, but as Luna. As queen. Later, when the hall emptied and silence returned, Ronan lay beside her, their daughter nestled between them. His scarred hand stroked Selena's cheek, reverent, tender. You gave me more than I ever deserved, he murmured. She shook her head, eyes soft. No, Ronan. We gave each other more than either of us thought possible. He leaned closer, pressing a kiss to her temple, then to their daughter's tiny head. His wolf purred deep in his chest, the sound vibrating with contentment. And for the first time in his life, the Alpha King slept in peace. The fortress basked in the soft glow of dawn. The blood of battle had been washed away by the night rain, and for the first time in what felt like forever, the pack stood in peace. Wolves roamed the courtyards freely, their howls no longer filled with rage but with celebration. Selena stood at the balcony, their newborn swaddled in her arms. The little girl slept soundly, unaware of the weight her tiny existence already carried. Selena pressed a soft kiss to her daughter's head, her heart swelling with pride. Behind her, footsteps echoed. She didn't have to turn. She felt him, the heat of his presence, the steady rhythm of his breathing. Ronan stepped beside her, his golden eyes fixed on the child, his expression softened in a way few had ever seen. She looks like you, he murmured. Selena smiled faintly. She has your eyes. Fierce and unyielding. He chuckled, low and warm, but there was something restless in his stance, something unfinished in the way he stared at her. Later that night, he called the pack to the great hall. Torches blazed, shadows flickering against the stone walls. Warriors, Omegas, elders, every wolf stood gathered, whispering in anticipation. Selena entered slowly, her daughter in her arms, her steps uncertain. The pack parted for her, eyes following, murmurs rising. She still felt their doubt lingering, faint but sharp. She had been the rejected one, the outcast, the Omega left to die. But tonight, everything would change. Ronan stood at the center of the hall, his chest bare, scars gleaming under firelight. His gaze locked on her the moment she appeared, golden fire burning with devotion. As she reached him, he dropped to one knee. Gasps rippled through the hall. The Alpha King, the ruthless, undefeated warrior, knelt before his mate. Selena froze. Her heart thundered. Ronan, what are you doing? His voice carried, low and steady, echoing off the walls. I am the Alpha King. My strength belongs to this pack. My crown belongs to this land. But my heart, his gaze rose to meet hers, molten and unbreakable. My heart belongs only to you. The hall fell into stunned silence. He reached for her hand, pressing his lips to her knuckles. You were cast aside, rejected, left to die. But you survived. You rose. You bore my child and carried my soul when I could not carry my own. Tonight, before all who serve me, I vow what I should have long ago. Selena's throat tightened, tears burning her eyes. You are my mate. My Luna. My queen. And before this pack, before the moon, I kneel not as your Alpha, but as your man. The hall erupted in howls, the sound shaking the very walls. Wolves bowed their heads, not in fear, but in loyalty. Selena trembled, the weight of his words breaking her completely. She bent down, cupping his face, her tears spilling freely. "You should not kneel to me," she whispered. "But I will stand beside you. Always." Ronan rose, towering, his arms sweeping around her and their child. His lips pressed against hers, fierce and tender, sealing his vow with the kind of kiss that silenced the hall. The pack howled again, their voices joined in unison. The rejection was forgotten. The whispers were gone. From that night forward, Selena was no longer the broken Omega. She was the Alpha's Luna, the mother of his heir, the queen of their people. Ronan held her tight, his golden eyes glinting with triumph. "Forever, Selena," he whispered against her lips. "You are forever mine." She smiled through her tears, her wolf purring in contentment. "And you, Ronan, are forever mine." The hall roared with approval, the firelight blazing, the bond between Alpha King and Luna shining brighter than the moon above. And so, their story ended not in rejection, but in fire, devotion, and a love that would never be broken.